interesting about that bridge, the person that it was named after, many people may not know, was the guy who penned the national anthem.
U.S. national anthem.
And in it, there are 4 stanzas. Initially, there were 4.
And then one was
dropped. Yes, was dropped.
Okay.
If you want to know why it was dropped, please Google.
There was a tragedy in Baltimore earlier this week. I mean, of course, everyone saw that fateful collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah, I thought
that
it
happened.
was a joke.
Yeah, it happened right here in our backyard in Maryland. And actually, that little loop, that area surrounding the bridge,
Yeah.
I would say that's the area that a majority of Kenyans who live in Maryland, actually, let me say the whole DMV area, the whole DC, Maryland, Virginia area, that's where a big majority of Kenyans live. So, you know, like this was very sad. It was like a scene out of a movie. The first time I saw it,
I thought it was, you know, like you think it's one of those mtu amefanya animation. Kuongeza vitu zingine.
Because it
was
happened
at
so
night,
fast. Yeah.
and you saw it happening, and then you saw the lights go off on the ship, then the lights go on, then the lights go off on the ship, then the lights go on, then the lights go off, and it veers, and then it hits an explosion, then the bridge falls like in sections, like 1, 2, then it's slow motion. But things are happening real time.
You know the most eerie thing, you know, literally like a minute before the bridge collapsed, you could see cars zooming past.
The 18-wheeler. Remember the 18-wheeler?
Yes. You could see cars zooming past. Those are people who right now, wherever they are,
yuko kanisani huyo ama msikitini. Huyo yuko kanisani ama msikitini.
And this also shows, you know, like how fast, you know, like the emergency services worked. Because I can imagine if there was a delay of even like 2 or 3 minutes, it would have been a total disaster.
It's a wrap.
It would have been a total disaster.
It's a wrap. And it happened, what time did it happen?
1:30
It was 1:30 a.m. in the morning.
And assuming when that was Wednesday, right?
Was it Wednesday or Tuesday? I can't remember what day it was, but yeah. But it was earlier this week. Yeah, it was Wednesday morning.
Yeah, it's bad. We can't really remember the date.
Yeah, but it's sad.
So what happened was, when you look at the bridge, very many people around that area. There are very many Kenyans who live around that area.
You mean the people who are around Kamau's?
Yes, including me. So tuko kwa hiyo area. So
these are the guys of Nyama Choma.
And by the way, you know, most Kenyans don't even know, like, even, and it's something that I learned today, that it's the 3rd largest struts bridge built with struts in the world.
Okay. Which is basically those Kastilka things.
Yes, the 3rd largest.
That's old technology.
Old technology.
Yeah.
That is interesting. As many bridges as Pittsburgh has. Have you seen how many bridges Pittsburgh has?
Yes.
Wow.
So, and then it will ilifunguli 1977. So it is technically Slay. Don't worry, no offense. The bridge is older than you, baby. And interestingly about that bridge, the person that it was named after, many people may not know, was the guy who penned the national anthem.
U.S. national anthem.
And in it, there are 4 stanzas. Initially, there were 4.
And then one was
dropped. Yes, was dropped.
Okay.
If you want to know why it was dropped, please Google missing stanza from the national anthem.
Okay.
And then look at yourself in the mirror. Then probably figure that maybe you're the reason.
That it's not you they were singing about.
Yeah, ish. So that was the thing. So it's going to, like, again, it's one of the busiest spots. I think already guys know this. It's one of the busiest spots in America.
Baltimore, that is.
In Baltimore, but in America also inclusive.
Correct.
So they have a lot of cars,
especially for autos.
For autos,
it's the busiest.
So it's going to be interesting. That's why, like, if you guys listen to Biden the other day, when giving a press conference, he said, federal government is already going to supply.
Okay.
It's going to fund.
It's going to fund the rebuilding.
Of the
you know, the thing is when you say that it's at the busiest spot, also let's not negate how important the bridge was, because that is the only place apart from the 690. So hazmats that are going into the port cannot pass through the two tunnels.
Yeah, they have to go
So
through a
all the
bridge, yeah.
hazmat vehicles have to go through the bridge. So now that traffic has to go back all to 695 and go around
the loop.
695 to come, to go around the loop and then come back, because they cannot use any other way, any other road in Maryland to get there, to get to the port where it is.
That's an
And
additional
then,
45 minutes, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
It's
something close like that. But then remember, 695 has also been getting busy and busy over the years.
Correct.
Along.
Yeah.
And then most of the nights when the tunnels are closed, that bridge is the only way in and out of Baltimore. So I'm just saying, if this thing happened on a Saturday night at around 3 a.m., when the tunnels are closed for maintenance, the fatalities would have been worse than what it is right now. Or if that thing could have happened 2 hours later, from 4 a.m., 5 a.m., when traffic is building up.
Yeah.
You know, when those truck drivers are woken up from the truck stops and they're heading to deliver at the port early in the morning so that they don't get a line.
Yes.
All of them are rambling on there. It would have been worse. So
to pick up the cars and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but then now, as Uno said, I think the port of Baltimore is the second busiest on the East Coast, or is it the busiest on the East
busiest.
Coast?
In the East Coast, in the East Coast is the busiest.
Yeah, so that means New Jersey will be overloaded. Florida,
as well,
there's
Delaware,
one in Florida
as well,
going to be overloaded.
Then,
Delaware is very small. It's a very small port that just it's so small that you cannot say that they will. Even if they try to dive, it's so most of the burden will have to go to Boston, Jersey. I know New Jersey as well has also a very large port. There's a large port in Florida also. That's Miami. So it's going to be Miami and Florida that's going to try to take that stress that Baltimore is living, because the other ports, Richmond, Delaware, they're very small. They cannot really take a lot of what Baltimore used to take. And then another thing that we have to look at is unemployment. All those people who work in the port, who are depending on that traffic from the port. Right now, the port is closed off.
It's
and then distribution.
Yes.
Let's look at distribution. There's a very huge Amazon plant over there. So again, the stuff that comes from Amazon through the ships and then goes to that Amazon distribution center, then that distribution center supports nearly all the distro areas in the East Coast. It's just going to be a nightmare. And that is why you see the president was so adamant, and even Congress didn't fight him. They gave him the 60-something million that he needed to build that bridge. It needs to get back. Like, that port has to be functioning as soon as yesterday. Or it's going to come back and hurt us in the pocket, because of a lot of stuff that comes to that port.
Supplies
is going to be delayed. So supply of so many things, it's going to be affected. It's going to affect a lot of Americans.
Okay.
So.
Okay, sawa Mika. You know, like that right there is an angle that No, you know, like I know the bridge. You know, like someone like Mika who's lived in that area before, Mike who lives there, probably know the day to day. You know, like I've passed by the area, you know, because I know on the opposite side there's that very big Amazon, you know, like fulfillment center. Is it called Sparrows Point?
Sparrows Point.
Yeah, Sparrows Point. Yeah, it's a very big, you know, like Amazon.
Even Under Armour is Under Armour downtown.
And you know, like that, like Mika said, that port, you know, like I hadn't put those two together. That fulfillment center serves a very huge area, and it's dependent on that port, you know, for a number of things.
Yes.
The other thing, you know, Mike, that I wanted to know, you know, like before we move on to our topic of the day is how is this, you know, like now affecting generally traffic motion in Baltimore? Are you noticing more traffic, and how is it affecting now, like generally people who work within the area? Do you know people who are dependent on that bridge?
I think there are people, like Mika was saying, but to be quite honest, I don't think they're probably people who are affected.
Yeah.
But lately, like, I've been cruising using 695, not
Yeah.
that one, but just the regular 695
Yeah.
through the Harbour Tunnel or
Yeah.
through 95, whatever. I haven't noticed much. And this is from when the accident happened.
Yeah.
So I haven't noticed much of a difference in terms of traffic.
Yeah.
All you just see are signs saying, 695, this particular going to Sparrows Point, going to whatever is closed off. Use an alternative route, 895 or 95.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the traffic is going to be affected more on when it east, when it loops now from coming towards, is it east or west, like when it goes. So instead right now, like most of the hazmats are not going to go the way they go. So they're going to Zuguka. They're going to go like they're going from Owings Mills.
Yeah.
Like they're taking the opposite direction. So most of the traffic is going to be on the opposite direction. So imagine the regular traffic that when 695 merges with 83.
Yes.
And also merges with that Owings Mills Boulevard. And then now add up those tracks that are going to be coming from 95, then dropping onto, instead now going straight, take a right, take a left. And so that's, as in, you basically overloading that highway that in itself
that is already congested.
I believe it needs to be expanded. And then now another thing is where the loop finished looping, and now all this traffic again has to turn back and come back as if it's coming south. So 695 northbound already is going to be traffic, and then now when it's turning, now it's coming south to come back into the city.
Okay.
So guys,
yeah, it's most people won't be affected, especially if they're used to using the tunnel, because these trucks are never going to the tunnel anyway.
Okay, Uno Mike.
Yeah.
So it's this other side that's going to be very affected.
I was gonna say, like, most of the guys who live like in the Dundalk area, guys who live in Glenbarnie, Sparrows Point, those areas will get affected, because that for them was like a quick hop.
Okay.
So like now, if from me where I live, Essex, Middle River, to quickly get to Glenbarnie, I'll just take the Key Bridge.
Yeah.
Nico Glenbarnie, because that is the main MVA. I don't know for you guys. I think
that's the headquarters.
That's the headquarters
for Maryland.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
MVA headquarters is
the MVA headquarters ile
Yes.
ile yenyewe
Ah,
iko hapo. So we would just hop onto that. You get serviced, unarudi, unaingia Essex.
Okay.
So guys from Essex, White Marsh, whatever, if they wanted to get any service, that's the route they would take.
But you know what fascinates me, despite me being in the US for now over 20 years, is just how the infrastructure is designed in such a way. You have, even when you're moving short distances, you always have like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 alternatives.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that was deliberate or if it was just coincidence that it just happens that there's always alternative routes, because you have, I can imagine, like if something were to happen to Nyali Bridge.
Oh, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Yes.
Like Toroitich.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
It's done.
Yes.
So that's where, like I'm thinking.
Or even Kilifi, the Kilifi Bridge.
Or even the Kilifi Bridge.
It's a wrap.
I'm trying to think, like, do we also now need to start thinking in terms of when we design our infrastructure, especially infrastructure that people are going to become very dependent on, do we also have to start thinking about that idea of always having a second or third alternative?
You have to, Ali. That is why we have road reserves in Kenya. And you remember that is why when Kina Kibaki came into power the first time, a lot of buildings were brought down. And even when the bypasses were created, and they were told hini barabara, and people are like, no, hini shamas are like, nope, this is a road. This is a road reserved for a road. And buildings were destroyed, were demolished, and the roads were actually created. And right now, if you go to Nairobi, the bypasses at the loops in Nairobi right now.
Okay.
Like instead of going through Katikati, you can jump on a bypass and come on the other side. Like all east and south, it's the same way. I remember when I came to this country, I remember there were times that you would drive on the highway and see exit 17, then the next exit you see is exit 21.
Yeah.
There was no 18, 19, 20. And then over the years, all of a sudden, exit 18 came out, 19 ikatokea,
So they
18.
create
So
a
which means that,
provision.
yeah, it was always set to be there. It was planned.
They were adding. Yeah.
Yeah. So back on the master plan design, it was always there. And then if you see, you come and realize like, new developments. How will people be getting to those new developments? Then you're like, oh, there's an exit going to that place. Like you're like, okay, this road was never there, or the exit was closed and there was some different alterations, and then you'll find yourself you've got. So there's always that planning, and that's what we call city design. How is the city going to expand? And if the city is going to expand and you're creating the road, are you going to create the road? In what terms are you going to create the road? Because when you do city planning for infrastructures, you don't plan for the population that is there. That is why you do census. So you do census and then you do an estimation of growth of how the city is going to grow. And then you design by that. So an example is Fredericks. If you go to Fredericks right now, it's not the same Fredericks that we used to know 6-7 years ago. Remember when you used to say Fredericks New Shago?
Yeah.
Hakuna kitu, siju kuna kaja. But then even if you go, remember the road to Fredericks mlikuwa mnapita na hivi gari pili. If you're coming from
If you're coming from Germantown,
yeah.
What,
15 or 70?
No, even to 70 was expanded. The lanes were expanded.
Yes, that's true. Yes, it was. Yeah,
so
around Clarksburg, from Clarksburg.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's always that plan of reserves. There's always there that once a certain the population starts to grow in a certain amount, you're going to start expanding.
Okay.
So there's always that, like, let's build a connection right now. Let's see how that area develops. Depending on the rate of development is how fast you'll see the roads being created. But there's always that plan of, we are building this road, but this road is supposed to hold a certain number of people in a certain number of years.
Okay.